Example 2. Determine the accumulated value of semi-annual deposits of $3,500 for 15 years into a fund that earns 11.4% compounded semi-annually if the deposits are made at the beginning of every 6-month period. How much interest is earned over this time period? Let's begin by constructing the time diagram. We've got semi-annual deposits for 15 years, so that means 15 times 2 each year, 30 semi-annual deposits. So our timeline is going to be 30 periods long. So we've got 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 30 semi-annual periods in 15 years. The deposits are made at the beginning of every semi-annual period, so the first deposit is made today at zero, $3,500 today. So there's my first deposit. My second deposit is made at the beginning of the second period. My third deposit is made at the beginning of the third, and my fourth deposit is made at the beginning of the fourth period. Beginning of the fourth period is the same as the end of the third period. So when is my 30th deposit going to be made? Well, my 30th deposit is going to be made at the end of the 29th period or the beginning of the 30th period. So it's $3,500. So when I wrap an annuity bus around this, I will have a total of 30 semi-annual deposits in this annuity. So the first one is made at 0 and the 30th one is made at 29. So N is equal to 30 deposits. And the question is, how much is going to be accumulated after 15 years? So really, our focal date is one interest period after the last deposit or after the 30th deposit. So there's my focal date for the final value. So I know it's going to be a final value calculation, and in fact, it's going to be a final value calculation with an additional interest period added onto it. So what do I have here? I've got 11.4% compounded semi-annually, so I'm going to divide that by 2. So the interest rate I is going to be 5.7% per 6 months. So I is equal to 5.7% per 6 months. N is equal to 30 semi-annual deposits, and I'm going to start off with summarizing what the formula tells me. The formula for the final value says that the final value is equal to $3,500 per 6 months, 1 plus the interest rate per 6 months, 30 semi-annual deposits minus 1 divided by the interest rate per 6 months. And then I'm going to multiply that by 1 plus the rate, 1.057, to tack on the additional interest. Working this out on your calculators, you will end up with a final value equal to, working out the first pair of factors, we will have $262,520 and 25 cents, and I still have to multiply that by 1 plus the rate. That $262,000 represents the final value at the end of the 30th deposit. So $262K is the value at the end after the 30th deposit has just been made. We add interest to that, so we multiply that by 1 plus I to the power of 1, or 1.057 in this case, and we end up with a final value that is equal to, or a future value that's equal to, $277,483.91. In other words, we've earned about $15,000 in additional interest just by making the deposits at the beginning of every period instead of at the end. How much of that final balance is interest? Well, in order to determine the interest, all we need to do is determine the difference between the money in and the money out. How much money went in? Well, the value of the deposits was 30 of them for $3,500 each. We've made a total of $105,000 in deposits. But our final value is $277,000. So therefore, the interest on our investment is the difference between the two. 277,000 minus the 105,000 works out to $172,483.91. Interest is always the difference between the money in and the money out.